in this episode.
Hi, I'm Stephen at 6 Goal talking Watford.
The Fantasy Football Show.
Hello listeners and welcome to episode 22 of the Planet FPL 30 in 30. My name's Serge.
My name is James.
And today we have with us the infamous, famous, none other than at 6th Goal, Stephen Toumi with us, our Watford correspondent. Stephen, how are you?
I'm doing well, guys. How you doing this evening?
Yeah, not too bad at all. You've recovered from the FA Cup final, which I know now was a little while ago, eh?
I recovered by about halftime because I knew the game was over.
It's really interesting. We had a great contribution from you at the live show, albeit sent over via video, being that you are in Northern California, so we'll forgive you for not coming to the show. But if you manage to listen back to the audio of FPL Live, James did a great 5 or 10 minute stint on how Watford needed to set up defensively to counteract Man City. We all had quite a few beers throughout the afternoon before the cup final started, so we were wasted by the time the game did start. And then all of that analysis on Watford defence just basically didn't matter. And City can do that to pretty much anyone, eh?
Yeah, you know it was going to happen. I mean, how can you not back your team even though when you're going in as huge underdogs? You know, at least my one thing was, we got to get some shots on target, which we had early. Would it have changed the game? Probably not. But, one goal could have done something for us. But who's to say Man City wouldn't have come back and, hit 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 like they did. But it would have been nice to get one. We didn't. 6-0, we made it to the full.
We've got them opening day of the season, so I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, a little rematch. Yeah, we will be too. We'll be up for the game this time, and looking forward to it.
Stephen, for the benefits of those who might not have listened back to the live show, where the fuck were you people? Can you tell everyone why Watford?
Watford started out in the, I'm guessing mid-90s. I say mid-90s. That's 20 plus years now, but it started with FIFA and Ben Foster when he was. Went on loan to Watford. I followed Ben Foster for whatever reason, and I just started using Watford as my FIFA team, and it's just carried on since. So I wasn't there in '84 when Graham Taylor was there, so I don't know many of the legends. Of course, now I've read about them. I've seen some of the history. I understand some of the club is obviously after 20 years, but Ben Foster was sort of the driving force to start back in Watford when he was on loan there. But, they've had some good players over the years. I mean, Marlon King, Lloyd Doyley are, two that I followed. Jada Merritt was an American playing there. So, there's a little bit of a connection there.
Yeah, and it's been a decent season for Watford, all things considered. You'd have taken it at the start of the season. Just before we really dive deep into Watford and looking forward to even maybe next season, how was your FPL season? How long have you been playing? How was last year?
Last year was year 6. It was my best season since 2015-16. I ended at 31K. So I basically bested my best by about 44K.
Wow, that's decent.
Scored 2,333 points. And if we could have stopped at game week 33, it would have been excellent. I was at about 11,000 at that point. And then the second wild card, 34, just fucked me. I hit 4 or 5 red arrows, and I just watched my overall rank plummet the rest of the season, and it was very, very frustrating. The wild card killed me in 34. Did you do what a lot of people did in terms of piling into Tottenham, Chelsea, Manchester United, and Arsenal assets because they were the only teams with much left to play for, who then ended up conspiring to throw away 4th place as best they could? I pretty much followed what everybody else was doing. Free hit 32 wildcard, bench boost in 35, and going into the wild card, I had 4 or 5, maybe 6 green arrows in a row, and you look back on it, and you play Captain Hindsight, and it's like, wow, if I would not have wild carded that week, granted, it's too hard not to. I mean, you got all these big name players, big name clubs, and here I am sitting with 3 from Bournemouth, and I think Brooks had the big game in 34. I had pulled him out, and 45 points on a wild card, and it just absolutely killed me. Just killed me.
So I was just looking at Stephen's game week 34 and 35. So you did your wild card in 34, bought Deeney and Delafeo. Delafeo obviously had a niggle. Deeney got sent off against Arsenal.
Yeah.
So he sold Deeney because he was suspended, and he sold Delafeo because he had an injury doubt, and then Delafeo tore it up in game week 35 against Huddersfield anyway.
Yeah, you noticed I didn't miss the Watford boys I brought in, but yeah.
Oh, painful.
Stephen, before we get too deep in Watford as well, I wanted to talk to you briefly about the other stuff you do in the community. Obviously, I mean, you're our most consistent writer by miles and miles.
Yeah.
We've posted another 3 articles for you this week ahead of the podcast, and we'll link those all to the podcast when it's released. But I know that there's other stuff you do in the community. So like, there's your own pod you do. You got the 30-second beer review. You're part of FPL Beer Club. Tell us a little bit about all those things if you can.
Let's start with the FPL Beer Club. I didn't start that. That was started by somebody named FPL Loon. I believe back in 2017. He was a Canadian. And he would post his pictures of beer hauls, how many beers, and he would always hashtag FPL Beer Club. So I think it was last January, FPL Chef decided to put all of us in a DM. So there's about 26 guys in this DM, and when fantasy football goes tits up, it's all about beer. And so right now it's about 26 people, and they're all FPL managers, and we had our first FPL Beer Club League this year. Which was a lot of fun, and a lot of shit talking back and forth all season. That always makes it fun. And then my 30-second beer review sort of spawned off of that. I said, what the hell? Let's go ahead and give them a 30-second beer review of craft beer in the U.S. because I'm not really sure how craft beer out here compares to what you guys get in the U.K. or Scotland or Ireland. So I started making videos, and they enjoyed them. So I was like, fuck it, I'm going to continue doing this. And I think I'm up to 200, 250 right now.
Wow.
And I mean, some of them get 3,000 plus views, and it's like, shit, how can I parlay that into something I can use?
Yeah.
Here I'm looking at numbers for my Pitch and Pint podcast going, well, shit, it's 50 people who listen to it. Excellent. But it's not, you said it before, it's not about the numbers. It's about the love of the game and the love of the community and having a good time. And that is what I have. That's all I intend to have is a good time. I don't look to make any money off of this. And I'll go out and support individuals like when Serge ran the marathon,
so
or I bought Ben Krellin sheet just to show support in the community. I back Always Cheating and some of the other sites just because I can, just because I know what it takes to put on a product like you guys do, like Always Cheating does. So. Yeah.
And it was really appreciated that generosity to Haven House when I was running the marathon, but also the time and effort. Like James said, you write so many articles, but you need to come over to London to figure out the craft beer scene here and tie it in with a trip to the Lane, because
the Lane,
the Vicarage Lane.
Lane.
We can come there as well.
Vicarage Road. Because
road. Watford are away to Spurs on October the 19th. And I do know, Stephen, that you were mentioning October as a possibility of
if you do that, my birthday's
over.
on the 22nd. We will have a party if you're down, mate.
Stephen, the fixtures are out. Is October serious? Because I'm buying your fucking ticket when you go. I'm telling you.
He means Tottenham ticket, not plane ticket. Although Tottenham ticket.
Oh no, I ain't paying for the flight.
I mean, the Tottenham ticket's probably a little more expensive than the plane ticket. You'll fly here cheaper than you can getting into their new shiny stadium.
When Watford are at home to Sheffield United was probably a little bit more realistic.
I mentioned October not because of the schedule, but just because of I got a vacation that week. I took that vacation, and my wife's not with me, but that's usually our anniversary. That same week, the 15th is our anniversary. So, am I serious about it? Yeah, I'm on the fence. I still have to get a passport. I don't have a passport. I don't go anywhere.
Yeah,
but
we need to get you over here, mate.
Yeah, we're going to work on something. It's going to be a good old live if we do.
Those two fixtures in October: Sheffield United at home at the start and Bournemouth at home at the end of the month. We can definitely get him a ticket, can't we?
Oh yeah, we can get him tickets at your place if you want, but I don't know if it'll be in the away end, it'll be in the Spurs end. But I know a number of Spurs season ticket holders that if I made a call and I needed them, we can get our hands on them. But you might cause some trouble when you jump up and shout Troy Deeney's third goal. That's the only thing. And the craft beer scene here has really taken off in London. It's massive.
And that's what I understand. I mean, I get enough information from the guys in the group, and it's just one. I say that, and I sent. God, how many packages I sent over? I think I sent 4 or 5 packages over there via my sister, who's a flight attendant. So she's my mule to get beer to all these guys in the UK.
Okay.
So I sent her pre-posted, labels in these cylinders, and they each had 2 beers. She dropped them in the Royal Post out there. These guys got them, a day or 2 later, and some of the beer I gave them, they were impressed. I mean, it's some of the best stuff in the U.S., and I guess some of it doesn't even compare to what these guys are drinking. So
yeah, it'll be good. That's a plan that we'll need to work offline on.
Yes.
I watched a Javi Grazia be a pundit on Sky Sports or whatever it was. It wasn't on about a UK match. I think it was a Spanish football or something along those lines. This is the end of the 17-18 season. His English wasn't particularly strong. He didn't come across very confident or very outgoing on TV. And this is before last season. He'd come in, obviously, 3/4 of the way through the season or whenever it was that Silva moved on. I didn't expect much from him, I'll be honest with you, based off that. And then what he's done since then, I think he's a real potential quality manager there in the making.
Well, you look at what he had to follow. I mean, Silva came in there, and I honestly, I was very high on Marco Silva and what he did at Hull the year they got relegated. I was hoping that Hull would stay up. I thought he did a good job, and then when Watford hired him, it was like, excellent, we got a good manager. But halfway through the season, and we saw it last year too. It's about November, early December, before we got into the fixture crunch, and you start getting those string of losses. And nothing's going right. I mean, you look back when he had Richarlison, he would just throw Richarlison out there, wouldn't look at changing his tactics or his formation. And, I looked at it last year, and it's like, here we go again with Garcia. And he was an unknown to me coming in. I thought they spelled his last name wrong. I thought it was Garcia.
Yeah, exactly.
I had no idea, so I did a little research on him. But once Silva had done his thing and damaged Watford and left for Everton, there was really only one way to go with the club. And he's come in and he's done a spectacular job with what he has and how the Pozzos run the team and the club. And, he's a very good tactician. He places value on the entire squad and, not just say a starting 11 or 12 or 13, which is good to see. I mean, he's got confidence in anybody on the bench. I mean, you look at how he used Isaac's success last year off the bench. I mean, he wouldn't hesitate to, go to one of the young kids, Dominguez Quina in the, I think it's the EFL Cup, and he returned. So he's turned out to be a very good manager. I'm happy that we've locked him up through 2023. Will he stay that long? I don't know. I hope so.
I mean, we're in a game where money talks, sadly. I don't know how much the previous season Marco Silva was affected by the potential of moving to Everton earlier in the season, and then kind of obviously you get your head turned a little bit and what happened with that. But we'll ignore it because it's irrelevant now, really. I feel like Watford are a team where the whole is more than the sum of the parts. I feel like it is a case of where you've got a team that works well as a team. You take any individual player, and they're decent, but they're not world beaters. But as a team, they perform particularly well. And then you have probably, I was going to say a couple of world beaters in there, but Doucouré, how long you hold on to him is going to be really important. And then Pereira being the other one, maybe.
Yeah, it's interesting to see, and I think that's one reason why I was never very high on any of the Hornets as FPL assets, because individually they just didn't seem to do much. Yeah, we had some talent, like you said, Doucouré, De La Feu even, Pereira with his inconsistency. But you put them together, that same group that started the first 4 or 5 games when, we were going 4-4-2, beating Spurs in the second half. And going 4-0 to start the season, it's like he can do no wrong. But it's the team. It's the team. That's how he is. He gets all these individuals together. None of them have any attitudes, well, with the exception of De La Feu. And they go out there, they perform, and they performed for the most part good all season long. I mean, on the pitch, they what's the word I'm looking for? They were confident, they were consistent, and I think that was the big thing, was the consistency. You never really saw a very bad performance, all that often. It was always some good performances, strong performances, and late in the game it would be a breakdown in defense or a missed opportunity, and that's all it took for the opposition to get the upper hand.
Generally always playing on the front foot if you can as well. Even like when he went down to 10 men against Arsenal, still kind of should have won that game really.
Right.
So yeah, it was good to see. But you mentioned it and alluded to it, that there were, from an FPL point of view, you couldn't necessarily recommend any assets. I think throughout the whole season, I didn't own any players from Watford. You had Will Hughes at the start of the season. Did you own anyone else?
Yeah, De La Feu at the wrong time. Basically, that was it. I think one of the interesting ones with Watford is the fact that this kind of function of almost like a 4-4-2, and one of the reasons that it works so well is because of the midfield too, because they really are athletic and can get about and are physical. Capoue and Decore, if either of those two are missing from the team, it's really noticeable. I know Capoue picked up your Player of the Year, I think, Stephen, and kind of is really beginning to show the form that he might have once shown at Spurs. And Decore is a beast of an engine who's just box to box all game long. And obviously you got players who join in like Pereira, Defleo. I think we quite enjoyed watching them last year. I think price dependent. Watford players are not ones we feel like are necessarily going to jump up in price, but there's a few to keep an eye on. If Decore has a drop, I think Deeney and Delafeo basically was 10 and 9 goals each, I think. Pereira flatters to deceive a little bit. One of the names I wanted to ask you about, Stephen, I know you mentioned briefly in your article, was Ben Wilmot.
He seems he's still 19. I think he's going to be on loan all year. We're not going to see him this year. Even though our defense is aging, and I think most of them are 30 plus right now. We just re-signed Cathcart. He's 30, I believe. Cavasele, 28. He looks to be a liability. Sebastian Prodel, I don't think he'll be around much longer. Feminia is 28. Janmart is 30. He may be on his way out. Holobas, 35, and still probably our best defender. I mean, sad to say. Britos is already gone. So, I mean, we got a big hole there defensively, but we'll have to wait and see what happens.
Yeah, I think
that Wilmot at 19, he's gone. He's at Udinese for another year, and he was proven at Stevenage, but he's just too inexperienced right now.
I think that area is a real concern.
It is.
Massively needs a centre half, because in the early fixtures, when obviously you had the great start, Cathcart and Kabasele's partnership kind of come from nowhere, very unexpected. Kabasele was playing well August, September, and then had a real drop off in form. Was sort of in and out of the team after sort of the winter injury that he picked up. Cathcart had a decent season as an overall, but it's quite unheralded. I think getting a new centre half in is an absolute priority, and that's why I wanted to ask you about Wilmot in terms of, could he potentially be, I don't know, a 4.0 who would break in, but you obviously don't think so.
No, I don't think we'll even see him. I think they want to give him another year, maybe 2 years on loan, and how much he plays at Udinese. I want to say he only got like 5 games last year. He didn't get a whole lot of action. So, why they sent him over there when we're such dire need of a good center back there. But we'll have to wait and see. Right now, I haven't seen any names. I think I've seen one name tossed around defensively that we may sign, but at this point it's just rumor and speculation, and we may not even have anybody ready to go right now. So
would you be really concerned if you don't add there?
Oh, hell yeah. I mean, I think some of the goals we gave up last year, some of the late goals, I think that could have definitely got us 2-3 more wins on the season. I do. There were times where Ben Foster was just left exposed because, Cavasele is 2 steps behind. And, I think the last, 2 or 3 games, I tabbed him for 4 goals. I mean, he was a step behind, and you're running with, or you're with the the attacker, and things may have been different, but it wasn't, and they struggled the second half of the season defensively.
I think that midfield 4 that we've spoken about, and obviously include Will Hughes and that, and the front 2. I think if that front 6 stay fit, they'll be all right.
Yeah.
I think if they start having holes, particularly to the midfield 2, I worry about them a bit next season, I think.
Yeah, I think it's still going to be a couple of years before some of these youth players in the middle are ready to step up and, potentially fill, the boots of Abdoulaye Doucouré. Is he going to be there next year? I think he will. I mean, we're not pressed to sell him right now. 50 million is the price tag I've heard. I know PSG was one of those teams he was linked with, but we don't have to sell him. I mean, we'll sell him when the deal's right for us. I mean, Watford's run as a business, right? I mean, the business is to make money, and Watford has done that very well the last couple of years. I mean, you look at Richarlison, bought him for 10 million, maybe sold him for close to 50. I mean, the same thing can happen to Doucouré. So, it's just that I'm going to have to deal with it and say, okay, well, we know Doucouré's not going to be there the entire contract through 2022. When is he going to go? Is it going to be this year? Or is it going to be next year? He's had 2 good back-to-back seasons that have been, relatively average. I think 5 and 7 goals, somewhere in there. And he's played well, but, definitely could get better. I mean, 7 goals last season with 4 assists, 5 goals, 7 the previous year. And, I figure him to be about 6 million this year. If, you're looking to pick him up for FPL, but would I? No, I wouldn't. We don't score enough goals.
It's an interesting one because we've now had obviously a few years sustained in the Premier League. Obviously going back to the famous kind of Deeney and Igalo partnership a few years back. So you kind of, a little bit like with Bournemouth, you're beginning to, I think they came up together, Watford and Bournemouth, I'm sure, beginning to feel like they're part of the furniture a little bit now. I'm a little bit concerned from this year, and for Stephen to say, like, in terms of FPL assets, we're essentially saying glaze it over. When you look at even the fixtures, they don't look bad, but they don't look good.
That's the same for a lot of teams at the moment. I think the way the fixtures have come out, everybody's got. It's not like only a few teams have their top 6 games bunched up. Everyone's got kind of 2 good, 1 bad, 1 good, 1 bad. It's a real kind of mix mash of good versus bad. You mentioned they don't score a lot of goals. I'm surprised that Gray hasn't really pushed on and kicked on a little bit more. He was always a good cheap option, but not enough goals.
He was good and cheap in the Championship. I mean, his best at Burnley, where I think was 9, and that was a year before he moved to Vicarage Road. So, I see him as a super sub. I think he played much better off the bench in a substitute role, coming in to spell De La Feu, more often than Deeney. I mean, but I think Deeney's found his partner in De La Feu.
Yeah,
but I just haven't been impressed with what Andre Gray shows. I mean, he got it done though. He can't deny what he did last year. 9 goals. He played well coming off the bench, but I just did not really like him as I
got him in instead of Deeney actually.
Yeah, I remember
just trigger him back.
Because,
I did.
It was the obvious choice in the way that Walcott swapping out for Richarlison.
But this one actually
worked.
worked.
Just as bad, maybe.
This one worked.
Stephen, would you consider De La Feu out of position then? He's classified as a midfielder in FPL. Or do you think he's a number 10 attacking midfielder?
He's a midfielder. I'm hoping I hope they don't reclassify him as a forward. I really don't.
It's not talked about, to be honest.
He's playing out of position, yeah. I mean, he's not playing behind Deeney. He's playing next to Deeney. Because Will Hughes is over on the right out of position. So, it was an interesting move by Gracia to actually start him up there. And, if you give the kid, just a couple more ticks on finishing, I mean, shit, he could have another 5 or 7, 10 goals. I mean, he had the opportunities, but, there were times that it was a dry spell that we wouldn't even get a shot on goal. So, we do need to change things, but going back to your question, no, I hope De La Feu stays as a midfielder. Willie, they've done stranger things.
Would you not, Stephen, would he not come into consideration for you then? Let's say when he started 5.5 last year, let's assume, based on just looking at some of the numbers, he goes up to 6. If he's 6 million midfielder next year, would you not consider him?
It depends. Is Ryan Fraser a $6 million midfielder?
Well, no, I think Ryan Fraser would be more like 7.5, to be honest.
David Brooks. I mean, okay, David Brooks, then maybe that's a better comparison. I don't know.
I think Brooks will be 5 or 5.5. I think probably 5.5.
Yeah. I will look at him again, but again, and maybe I'm just gun shy from taking players from my own club like you and Spurs, but they don't excite me. You watch them week in and week out, and you probably see more the negatives than you do positives when it comes to the club. And it's like, why did I pick up De La Fey? Why did I start with Will Hughes like you did last year? Because I thought he was going to be instrumental to the club's, attack, but it just didn't turn out that way. So $6 million, no, if he's 6.5, 7, no, I don't think I'd consider him. I think it's too much.
I think 6 he still comes into play. I'm just comparing him. So he ended up with 4.4 points per match last year, which is 4.4 fine, okay. Right? That's the same as Richarlison, to give you context. Look at the players just beneath that with less than 4.4 points per match. The 2 silvers at City, Felipe Anderson, Hotter, David Brooks, Lucas Moura.
Wow. Okay.
So
and
you
who's
look
just
at
above him? If this
Richarlison and Milivojevic is the same as Milivojevic.
But also take into account he missed the first 8 games as well. I mean,
so I'm doing this as points per match, Stephen. So he's kind of factoring that in terms of what he's giving you per game. So I think, I wouldn't rule Deulofeu out.
One thing
as a midfielder.
The thing that put me off Deulofeu was that he did get the curly finger at 65, 66 minutes quite a lot in games. He didn't seem to finish 90 minutes a lot.
No, and that was spoke about that, he goes out there and he gives it, 110%, as they say. And, he's basically burnt by 65 minutes. I mean, he's got the skill to be out there 90 minutes. I'm sure he's got the training to be out there 90 minutes. But it just seemed to be a common thing. And early on, I thought it was okay. Maybe Gretzky is doing that just to save him because he's just back from injury. So, let's move him on slowly. But it became commonplace nearly every game, 60, 65 minutes. Obviously, the deeper we went into the FA Cup, rotation started to creep in. But, I think at no time was his position ever in doubt that he was, the number 2 starter next to Deeney. Not Success, not Gray. But that is one of the, that's one of the considerations you got to take into it's one of the facts you got to take into consideration is, he may not play 90 minutes or even 70 minutes. Getting hooked at 60, 65 minutes. So
it's true. I had successful fucking season nearly as well. I just remembered.
All season? You had him for quite a
long time. For about 20 game weeks,
and you were successful in the week that you brought him into your starting
when I actually started him, he scored,
which wasn't a bad shout for sure. One of the Watford players that got a lot of attention was Pereira, who had a decent season overall. If you look at it,
he had a decent start to the season and then fucking fell off the curve.
He finished the season cheaper than he started. He started at 6 million. He ended up at 5.9. He didn't get an attacking return after game week 19. So the first half of the season.
Wow, is that right?
Yeah, I'm just looking at it was 12 points in game week 18, 9 in game week 19. After that, there was 1 3-pointer in there. And everything else was 2 or less.
I'd not realised that.
That's
a definite avoid then.
So think about 122 points coming from him, and he didn't get a single attacking return in the second half of the season. He could have, should have possibly been a 150 to 160 point player. Is there anything that you can point to that meant the second half of his season was as shit as it was?
Well, when he came over from Italy, the knock against him was he couldn't score away.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, all his points seemed to come from home games, and we started seeing that earlier in the year that, he started knocking them in at home, but they go away. He can't get the ball.
There were a couple that I'm thinking at West Ham and at Everton, sort of December time. I'm sure he picked up points in those games.
He spent
a little bit later on. He did start to find that away for him and did pick up a couple of goals, but he looks good. I think he's somewhat of he's definitely a form player. I mean, when he's on, he is on. And, being Argentine, I mean, he's got the skill, he's got the creativity. I mean, you just wait for him to cut it over to that right foot at the outside of the 18 and just curl it into the back of the net. I mean, that's what you're looking for him from every shot he takes that position. But it just no consistency. Maybe it was a confidence thing this year. But I know he is linked to go back to Italy, so we'll see what happens.
He may not be there next season. I know the game against West Ham. I didn't watch as much of Watford as you did last season. When you came to the London Stadium, he played particularly well, I thought, and I'd love to see his heat maps. I'm not one of those big stats guys or looking at heat maps or whatever, but it felt like he was in the box a lot or getting forward a lot. He was in and around the edge of the box. When you guys came to us, and that made me think maybe he's a consideration. But 6 million was a fair chunk of money.
Yeah, I think he drops to 5.5. But again, would I consider him? No, I wouldn't. He doesn't have the consistency. I mean, if he comes out of the Copa, Copa Sudamericana, maybe, and he's netted a few goals, maybe look at him. But the price will probably be right around 5.5, maybe 6. But again, I just think he just does not have the consistency to bring to the table.
I think breaking the squad down in terms of who you would consider FPL wise, Foster would still come into consideration. I think you'd probably rule out Femenia would be the best choice defensively. Probably. Stephen's shaking his head, going no. But all I mean by that is, I think you're right in what you're saying. Like, avoid defensively completely at the moment.
Yeah.
But he would probably be the best if you wanted to go down that route. Because I think you've already highlighted you think Janmat might go.
I would take Holebas. Holebas would be, if I went with a Watford defender, Holebas at 4.5 or 5 million would be my defender.
Still, 12 yellow cards.
Yep.
65 years old.
10 attacking returns.
No, it's true. He's still on the corners and that.
I think the 10 attacking returns were more than what Trippier had, wasn't it? I'm not sure.
I'm pretty sure it was, mate. It's probably more than all our fullbacks last season, in fairness, Stephen. I'll give you that one. And I think still Delafeu is still one I really want to keep an eye on. But before you disappear, Stephen, the man sitting next to me on this podcast has got a real fucking problem with Troy Deeney. I want you two to talk it out.
Oh dear.
I got one word for you. Grow some cojones, okay?
Oh dear.
What is your issue with Troy Deeney?
It's an attitude thing. I think he takes the piss when it comes to there is a line of being respectful towards other teams. I think he crosses it, and I understand why he does it. He's a wind-up merchant, right? That's his whole brand. But I think he just takes it that little bit too far. He goads the fans unnecessarily. When he scored against us at the London Stadium, he obviously was giving it to the fans and then fell over trying to do his roly-poly or whatever. So everyone then starts laughing at him back, and it escalates it and elevates it. But I just think he just crosses the line. And obviously, I probably have an issue with him for hitting. What was it? What did he get done for? Hitting the woman back in the day or what have you? And I just think that's out of order thing to do, really.
No, you're right. That is out of order. And, I don't like to look at professionals in their, outside of their jersey. I mean, I look to see what he's done on the pitch. He's been our inspiration. He's been our captain. I mean, he's been, a 20-plus goal scorer in the championship. I mean, you look back to when they won the game against, Leicester. That last second, goal that he scored. I mean, just brings chills to my mind. And, does he go a little far? He can. I mean, are there more players that do that same thing? Yeah, there are. I mean, the red card on Torreira, was it a red card? I mean, did he intentionally knock him in the? So. Yeah. Now, what if Deeney played for the Hammers? I mean, does that change your opinion on him?
Oh, if he joined West Ham tomorrow, I'd fucking love him.
I don't think we need a striker like that, to be fair. But it comes back to something we were talking about at the beginning of this, where the whole is more than the sum of the parts. Yep. And I think what Grazia has there with Watford and that mindset and mentality, I wouldn't call it siege mentality, maybe it is, fits well with Troy Deeney. He's the type of player you want in the dressing room when it's a case of, look, we got to get in and amongst these guys and it's us against them and what have you. It fits so well into Troy Deeney. I've never considered him an FPL asset, particularly. I don't think he scores enough goals to warrant a striker position. He's probably in that no man's land where you've got the likes of Zaha, Jimenez, Arnautovic, who didn't have a good season, but they're that little bit more expensive, but also quite a bit better from an FPL point of view. I just don't think I'll ever. I think he's a wind-up merchant. Having said that, if you ask me, do I think the way he winds up Arsenal is quite funny? Probably, yeah. Especially for Arsenal fan TV. So, yeah, probably a little bit. And if he was on my team, the likes of Diego Costa, Marko Arnautovic, annoying little shits that they are, you do back them when they play for your own team.
Yeah, he's just been one who's been there. He's been through, the good times, the bad times. And I mean, he is that talisman on the pitch. I mean, seems to be bigger than life for, Watford when he's out there applying the trade and, doing what he's doing. If it's scoring goals or knocking somebody in the head or, winding up fans of the opposing team. I mean, you get a little bit of everything from Troy.
Yeah, you know what he is, don't you, James? He's
a
Hornet. He's an annoying little shit with a little bit of a sting, but nature does need them for some reason or other.
it's not a bad thing as well in certain ways, because if they do have a sticky spell this year, Watford, the one thing you can't question about him is a leader, isn't he?
Oh, 100%.
Right? They'll need some of that.
Yep, for sure.
Very true.
Indeed. Stephen, as I mentioned it at the live show, and I mention it again now, you are our most prolific contributor when it comes to articles. There was week in, week out reviews, previews, and all the rest of it. And it has to be said that we really appreciate the kind of work you put into the community. Like you said, you like to support the community. The community supports you back in the work that you do for Watford and for us and all the other stuff that you do as well. And we are looking forward to more next season once we get the prices and once all of this kind of really kicks off. But you're already ahead of the game. Along with this episode going out, we've got... you're already on the article trail, man. You're already doing it. So it's kind of one of those.
I go to all the correspondence, this is true, right? Yeah. So I go to all the correspondence, guys. We don't want to release articles in June. We want to focus on the podcast. So Dan messages me, FPL Loco Lord. He messages me and he goes, I've sent you something. I'm like, oh, fuck it. All right, yeah, I'll post it. Yeah, cool. And then Gary is my cat player, and he tweeted me, went, I want to do something on the fixtures. I went, well, if you can get it out when we're doing the fixture pod, that'll be handy. All right, yeah, I'll do it. And then this guy messages me, Stephen, and he goes, I've sent you one, and I'm going to send you two more as well. So I've gone, fuck it. I might as well message all the correspondents and go, start writing again,
Open for
guys.
business as usual.
Fuck it. But Stephen, it's so appreciated. And those 3 articles, I'll link them into this podcast as well.
Yeah, please do.
Really good reads because they broke down in sort of defensively, attacking, and where you think the club's going to go forward next. Really good writes, mate.
Tell the listeners, where can they find you on Twitter and anywhere else that you want to direct them to, mate?
I'm at 6goal, the number 6th goal on Twitter. And then I got the supporting website, 6goal.com, which has, all my beer stuff. It's got the Pitch and Pint podcast and, whatever articles I write that aren't for you guys. I mean, they're just basically on my team and, thoughts, strategies, and just different shit I put together that's, not necessarily Watford related.
Excellent.
Where does that come from, 6th goal, just before you go?
I bought a domain name called the 6th Floor back in 1999 for gaming. Right. And I still have it. I still use it for my personal site. And I was just trying to think of a catchy Twitter handle. So I changed, I think it was my name to 6th Goal, just for the hell of it.
And then the FA Cup final happened.
Yeah, to be fair, you foresaw it. Unfortunately, you did indeed. Listen, thanks so much for joining us. If everybody who does listen to the show gets onto Twitter and just tweets at 6th Goal, get your ass over to London for the end of October. We're ready and waiting.
Make it happen, mate.
Apologies if 100 people do now tweet at you.
So, yeah, I will definitely work on my travel plans to London.
Yeah, for sure.
I reckon we should have a whip round.
Yeah, let's figure out a way of doing
Genuinely
it.
have a whip round to get this guy to Watford.
Yeah, let's do it. Thanks again. James, this is episode 22.
Yes, so the next 3 podcasts, and you already looked at me blank going,
episode 23.
Who is it, James?
I'm confused.
We've got in the next 3 days consecutively the 3 promoted clubs. We've got Mark, FPL Badger, Norwich, Tomo, FPL Blade, Sheffield United, and Adam Hopcroft, a Hopcroft 13 on Villa. Nicely consecutively in the order they got promoted as well.
Interesting. And based on the fact that the fixtures come out and everyone's buzzing about 3 Liverpool and 3 City, we're going to need to listen to these, because if we are looking for budget options, then promoted clubs always do have them.
These guys are going to be fascinating.
This is it. We all know about City. We all know about Liverpool assets. We all know about Arsenal United. It's these clubs that we know less about. So make sure you tune into those. Hit subscribe on whatever channel you're watching, whether it's YouTube or iTunes or what have you. Share the podcast with all your FPL clan mates if you can. it all helps us grow our numbers and do what we do and all the rest of it. Anything else to add, James?
Stephen, love you, mate.
Yes, thank you so much for joining us. It's always a laugh. And honestly, I'm saying it. We're on a Saturday recording 5 podcasts in a row, 4 down, and it doesn't feel like anything. It's so much fun.
And for the audio listeners who won't have watched YouTube, Stephen has recorded this podcast on a break from work in his fucking car.
Mobile recording studio. No one tell anyone in the Northern California railways, and that's all I'll end with. Ciao for now.
Cue music, man, child.
The Fantasy Football Show.